Former Georgia record-setting quarterback high on the Tennessee Volunteers in this matchup. What did he say?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Cain, a member of the VolQuest.com team here in town, covering your Tennessee Volunteers on a daily basis. And, of course, the host here of Locked On Vols. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. Today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over at Monarch Money. Here you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Big shout out to Monarch Money. Good show today, all right? Former Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray had a lot of good things to say about the Tennessee Volunteers at the Knoxville Quarterback Club on Monday. What did he say? And what are his thoughts entering this game? You're going to want to hear these in a matter of a couple seconds. Mailbag questions. Was going to do it Tuesday. Did the crossover, so doing it here on a Wednesday morning. You Everydayers coming up in segment number 2. And then Josh Ward, segment number 3 here on a Wednesday show. All right, so what did former Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray have to say about the University of Tennessee? He was the keynote speaker at the Knoxville Quarterback Club at Calhoun's on the River on Monday. And they do a great job. The Knoxville Quarterback Club does a great job of bringing in some really, really good speakers year-round. And what I like about that is, like, weeks like this, sometimes you get a former player or a former coach from the school that Tennessee football or basketball is about to play. And it usually makes for an interesting soundbite or something pretty neat. And I thought this was really interesting. I mean, Aaron Murray does a great job. I was a big fan of some Georgia quarterbacks back in the day. I'm not a Georgia fan, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a big fan of Matthew Stafford in the NFL, always have been. Love what he did with the Detroit Lions early in his career. I thought he was, when I was a kid, I thought Matthew Stafford was a pretty good quarterback at Georgia. I thought Aaron Murray was a fantastic quarterback at Georgia. Again, never liked Georgia, but I like those quarterbacks. And I've always respected Aaron Murray. I think he does a really good job at ESPN. And a lot of you guys might like Aaron Murray a lot more now after you hear this. What he said at the Knoxville Quarterback Club was going to surprise you. Quote, I want to put my Georgia hat on, and I want to say Georgia's going to beat that ass so bad, but I can't say that confidently. As an ESPN employee, I put my Georgia hat away, and I just call the game for what it is. I think Tennessee is in a better position right now to go out there and have success, end quote. It's tough, right? It's always tough whenever you're moving on from your playing days and you're moving into a journalistic or broadcasting realm, and you have to go and cover that said team. It's tough at points in times. I mean, on a much lesser scale, I played at Jefferson County when I was in high school forever ago, and I do the Rivalry Thursday broadcast all the time, and we get Jefferson County on that broadcast all the time. And when I'm sitting there in the booth, and even though high school was forever ago because I'm ancient now, it's still kind of weird at points in times if I'm sitting there, and high school is a little bit different from college and certainly different from the NFL. You can't just sit there and bash players, which that's not really my style anyway. But if I'm being overly critical of a Jefferson County player, it's a little weird. It's a little off-putting. I've done several ESPN streaming games in the booth for Carson Newman games, where I call Carson Newman Little Ron, Carson Newman Wingate, Carson Newman whoever, back when I first got out of college. And that was in my early days in the industry, and that was a challenge because it was like, man, I just had the helmet on a couple years ago. Like, I want to talk about my team, Carson Newman, but you have to separate those. And Aaron Murray's exactly right. When he works for ESPN, he's an ESPN employee, especially when you're on that game. You got to call it for what it is. And I thought that was really, really cool. He says, I think Tennessee is in better position right now to go out there and have success. Interesting. He goes on to say, quote, I think Tennessee is more confident. I think Tennessee is a better team. Massive home field advantage. One more time. I think Tennessee is confident. I think Tennessee is a better team. Wow. I think Tennessee has a massive home field advantage. Now, home field advantage without a doubt, especially when things are going well. And Tennessee's got to give a reason for that crowd to be on its feet and never let up. If Tennessee goes out there and gets scored on and turns it over or 3-and-out offensively or whatever, looks sloppy, that crowd is not going to be a factor. The crowd is only a factor when you give it reason to be. And according to Aaron Murray, that crowd is certainly going to be a factor, and Tennessee will have a massive home field advantage. I mean, we all know we've been to games. I've covered several games. I mean, I went to games as a fan back in the day. Like, ain't nothing like Neyland, baby. Neyland is going to be rocking come Saturday night, but the Tennessee football team has got to give reason, especially as the game goes along, for Neyland to continue to be a rockin'. Aaron Murray goes on to say, I do not like what I see on tape from the Georgia football team, to be honest with you, at all. There's a lot of worry in the state of Georgia, and for good reason. The tape don't lie. And the tape is not being good for Georgia on offense the first 2 games of the season against what you can consider lesser opponents in Marshall and Austin Peay. Again, you have a you have a former quarterback in Aaron Murray who knows a heck of a lot more football than I will ever know. And I've made it a point on this show, and I said it yesterday in the crossover. I said it on, the Rugiet Rewind, VolQuest.com on Sunday. I've said it on the VolQuest podcast. I've said it all week long. I'm not putting too much stock into those games against Marshall and Austin Peay because I think there's a lot that Georgia didn't show. I think there's a lot that Georgia didn't run, especially on defense. And the fact of the matter is you're playing a lesser opponent. Now, give Tennessee its flowers, right? Played a lesser opponent, went up and scored 72 points. That's how you're supposed to do it, right? You're paying them, might as well get your money's worth, right? But it's human nature sometimes to get up for those games. But to give Tennessee credit, Tennessee did do that. There's been a lot of times where you see Florida just kind of mosey on through the first couple weeks of the season and they'll look like a completely different team against Tennessee in week 3 or 4 of the season. We've seen this before. So I made it a point this week to say I don't put much stock in those first 2 games, but Aaron Murray, who again knows more football than I ever will, okay, played at the highest level, then I'm going to take him for its word, right? He goes on to say, it says Gunner Stockton. Gunner's a little bit long in his delivery when it comes to getting it out in the RPO world, the quick hitches, the bubbles, the screens, the outside, and I think there's some confidence that lacking at that moment. And then last thing you want from a guy that's played in that stadium twice and know how difficult it is to play at Neyland and how loud and intimidating and how you aren't going to have a voice after 4 quarters. The last thing that you need is lacking confidence heading into a ball game. So I worry about him and his confidence. Aaron Murray, who played at Neyland twice, who's been a part of these great games, he knows what the Neyland experience is all about. Questioning the confidence level of Gunner Stockton right now, saying if you don't have confidence, especially in a place like this, boy, are you going to struggle. He goes on to say, quote, you walk into Neyland with the guys that are not playing well and communicating, that's a recipe for disaster. So there are some things offensively right now that is obviously a big-time concern for the Georgia Bulldogs, which should be giving you guys, Tennessee fans, some extra motivation heading into the ballgame. Again, he's talking to a room full of Tennessee fans at the Knoxville Quarterback Club on Monday at Calhoun's on the River. Man, a lot of good things about Tennessee. Murray not confident in this iteration of the Georgia Bulldogs offense right now, at least. He goes on to say on Joey Aguilar, thought this was pretty cool. Quote, I kind of sat back and said, okay, maybe they got the right guy at quarterback. And I don't know if Joey Aguilar is going to be as good as Nico. I don't know if he's going to be a better prospect than Nico, but through 2 games, he looks pretty damn good. Overall, man, I'm just really impressed with him. I like the receivers on the outside. I like the running backs. I like the defense. So you guys impressed me. Talking again to Tennessee fans, end quote. So, again, this is just one player, okay? There are players scattered across the Southeastern Conference, former players scattered across the Southeastern Conference that have their opinions. We got several in town. Jason Swain, Eric Gaines, just 2 of them. Okay, several players that give their opinions. There's like that in Athens and Gainesville or the Orlando area. There's like that in, now Norman, Austin, Oxford. I mean, you name Baton Rouge, you name it. There are former players that are kind of in this line of field, and they all have opinions, right? Aaron Murray's just one of them. But I did think it was kind of noteworthy. I did think it was kind of interesting that, boy, he was not high on Georgia, and he was pretty high on Tennessee. I like what he said about Joey Aguilar. I don't know if he's going to end up being good. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Nico is. I don't know if he's a better prospect than Nico is. I can tell you that right now. He's not in terms of being the prospect that Nico is. It's all about upside, right? But right now, through 2 games, he looks pretty damn good, end quote. Like, I like that, man. And again, all we can talk about is what we've seen so far. It gets real on Saturday. Everybody knows that Georgia's defense is a defense that Joey Aguilar has never seen. Georgia defense is a defense that is not Syracuse, that is not ETSU. It's a different animal. The test is the hill's steeper, okay? The test is harder. Everybody knows that. But right now, through 2 games for Tennessee's offense, for Joey Aguilar, all you can talk about and rave about is what you've seen. And there's a lot to rave about right now. So, and the same for Georgia. You've seen lackluster performances against Marshall and Austin Peay. Again, that Austin Peay game a little funky to begin with because of the time change and all that and the delay. But anyway, I thought this was really interesting, and I wanted to bring it on the show. Full quotes and all that and more. Grant Ramey had a write-up over at VolQuest.com. Aaron Murray from the Knoxville Quarterback Club earlier this week, high on the University of Tennessee and not so high on the Georgia Bulldogs here heading into this matchup. Interesting stuff. Had to tell you guys in case you didn't know about it. Man, just adds a little bit more fuel to the fire, right? All right, when we come back, we'll answer your mailbag questions right here on a Wednesday, Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Mazda craft cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details, right? Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel a Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. It's almost the weekend, just a couple days away. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win on every Saturday with DoorDash Streak, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For Tennessee, Chris Brazzell delivered in a big way. 100-yard receiving game, had 111 yards. He had 9 receptions. Mike Matthews also 6 receptions, 105 yards or whatever. 2 100-yard receivers against ETSU, giving some confidence moving into, of course, the Georgia week. And just like Chris Brazzell, Mike Matthews delivered for Tennessee, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday. You order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including a $100 DoorDash credit. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November the 18th. All right, guys, welcome back into your Wednesday morning Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here, making us a part of your morning routine. Tell your friends, tell your family members, this is the show for them year-round. We're here Monday through Friday, weekday mornings when you wake up, plus a post-game show coming up Saturday nights after the game. So we're here for you guys. This is it, man. You want to be entertained. You want to be educated. You want to know what's topical in the world of Tennessee football. This is the show for you. Download us, subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, please. That just helps the show grow and grow and get in front of more and more Tennessee fans, right? I appreciate you everydayers for doing just that. Usually on Tuesdays, we're doing it on Wednesdays here today because I had a crossover with Locked On Bulldogs. I know I got a lot of feedback, saying Clint doesn't give Tennessee a chance at all. My response would be, if you were a Georgia fan, would you give Tennessee a chance at all, right? You've lost 8 straight, right? Tennessee's down 2 really good cornerbacks. Tennessee's down some on the defensive line. If I'm a Georgia fan, I'm feeling confident too, right? But I also thought Clint was really, really high on Josh Heupel and Joey Aguilar. I recognize Clint was not high on Tennessee or Joey Aguilar before the season, but I did think that he was really, really high on Tennessee during the crossover yesterday. So it's expected that he thinks Georgia's going to win, right? That's okay. That's what fans believe, right? And that is a lot. You guys think Tennessee's going to win, and that's fair. I picked Georgia to win on that show yesterday, but I said I reserve the right to change my pick the later the week goes because I know I'll probably get talked into it. So anyway, had a whole lot of fun with Clint and really, really enjoyed the crossovers. Always enjoy catching up with him. All right, let's get on to the mailbag questions. Tyler, who do you want to see as the guest picker? Who do you think will actually be the guest picker? Good question. I'm really bad at this game. Peyton Manning makes a lot of sense. I know he's done it in years past. Dolly makes a ton of sense. I know she sang. I don't think she was ever the guest picker, was she? Pick your poison of country music artists, right? And a lot of these things, it just can't be spur of the moment most of the time, right? Unless you really pull some strings. But Morgan Wallen would make sense. Kenny Chesney would make sense. Kelsey Ballerini would make sense. Hell, Todd Helton, I know, a former Tennessee quarterback, but of course, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Todd Helton would make sense. There's a lot of famous people running around in here in Knoxville. I say go for an artist, but I know that's oftentimes that's really, really hard to do. Who I think it will be, I don't know. That's a really good question, man. To be honest with you, I don't really care about this stuff, so I haven't really been poking around and asking. But it is Wednesday, so I should probably poke around and ask a little bit before it's announced to see if I can figure out who it is. So, interesting stuff. I am intrigued to see who it is. Jared, do you think Peyton Lewis should or should not be getting more carries? Is it possible that he's on the side of bad luck or timing because the other running backs, in my opinion, have much bigger holes to run through and more frequent than what Lewis got? Agree, disagree, thoughts? Yeah, Jared, I think I said it on the show a couple days ago. I'm a big-time Peyton Lewis believer, man. I like Peyton Lewis, love the way he runs, hard-nosed, running over defenders, stuff like that. But right now, he's not seeing it as well. I can see it in real time. I go back and watch the tape. His vision, he's not seeing it like Star Thomas nor Deshaun Bishop is seeing it right now. And both those two guys are involved in the passing game a little bit where Peyton Lewis is not. He's still getting his fair share. Through the first two games, it's Bishop, it's Lewis, then it's Thomas. It's Bishop, Lewis, Thomas. Bishop, Lewis, Thomas. I mean, they're going in a straight order here. So he's still getting his opportunities. He's just not seeing it well right now. So in my opinion, right, like I'm fine if he still gets a share of the load. But in these games, especially SEC tilts like Georgia, whoever's caught the hot hand, leave him in. I don't care if that's Bishop, Lewis, or Thomas. I don't care. Whoever is helping you the most, leave them in the game in order to try to get your offense where it needs to be, especially if you're down. So I'm intrigued. I am so intrigued to see how that looks in a game like this for sure. Jared, I appreciate you, man. Dalton, do you think that Tennessee improved offensive line matches up good against Georgia's defensive line so far? I've been really impressed, but this week is a tale of tales. It's going to be interesting too, because what about David Sanders? I think somebody's going to ask about David Sanders here in a moment. Does he play? If he's available, does he start? What's that look like? I say all that because if he starts and plays, that bumps Jesse Perry down to right guard. It flips Wendell Moy from right guard to left guard. It takes Shami Morrow and puts him on the bench. That's the best group of five that they believe they had coming out of fall camp. So far, the five that's been playing has been looking really, really good. But to your point, yeah, it's about to get real. Georgia, what Georgia's done to be successful, mind you, 6 sacks a season ago against Nico in this offensive line. They just beat up A-gap to A-gap. They beat up the interior. Sam Pendleton, Wendell Moy, whether it's Jesse Perry, Shami Morrow, whoever's that other guard, have got to play assignment football. They got to make sure they have all those guys accounted for because you are blocking an area. You're not blocking a guy. You are blocking an area, okay? You are blocking a gap. So you can't get it's when they do those twists and turns, you have a defensive lineman that'll loop out, and so many times you see the guard going with that, and then they'll just bring the linebacker right there where he left. Like, find butt side and go. Like that's football 101 on the defensive side of the football. You can't get caught up in all that stuff. You got to play assignment football. So I've been so impressed with Tennessee's offensive line. I've loved seeing it. Again, I'm intrigued, man. I'm so intrigued to see what this group looks like against Georgia. Sure, there's no Jordan Davis's, there's no Jalen Carter's out there, but these linebackers are legit for Georgia. They typically always have some really good linebackers. Chris Cole, C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, really, really good players. Adam, what's up, Adam? What up, CN Eagle? Obviously, he can't be, but don't you think Joey's the best quarterback Josh Heupel has had at Tennessee? I haven't looked it up, but is he the most experienced coming into the role? Hendon played a year at VT, right? Joe played a little at Michigan, and Iam Aliava was just redshirting. Iam Aliava was just a redshirt before he was the starter. Joe spent 3 years at Michigan, played some, was a starter for a little bit, got benched, battled injuries. He spent a couple years at Michigan, was like a part-time player, part-time starter. Hendon spent several years at Virginia Tech, and he played a lot. Hendon was the most experienced guy coming into this Josh Heupel offense as far as at the Power 4 level. Now, Joey Aguilar played at the Sun Belt level last year, and then, of course, or 2 years, and then he played 2 years in junior college. So Hendon was the most experienced, especially at this level. But, yeah, can he be the best? Can he be? Yeah, maybe. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders. I think that he's a veteran. He's played a lot of football, that knows when to take the check downs, when to go out and run. So far, he hasn't forced the ball into bad windows. Let's see if that looks what that looks like against Georgia. I have been pleasantly surprised. Didn't think Joey Aguilar would be bad the first 2 weeks, but I didn't think he'd be this good. So, yeah, if he keeps this up, heck yeah, man. I mean, certainly he can be as good as Nico was last year. I think Nico, the long-term football player, is a good player, but Nico of 2024, I think Joey could certainly be better than that. Jared says, for the guys available and will appear in Saturday's game, say if each unit is better, the same, or worse compared to the last 3 seasons since 2022. So the 23, 24, and 25. So 2022, 2023, and 2024. Quarterback, I think Joey gives Tennessee the best chance to win since Hooker. O-line, the O-line was good last year, but they were just hurt. So, yeah, I'll take this O-line right now, albeit inexperienced, but they're healthy, and I think that they long-term will be better. But the offensive line, at least in 2024, was just beat up and bruised. The wide receivers, I would take the wide receivers from years past. Running backs, Jalen Rott and Dylan Sampson are in the NFL, so I love the running backs right now, but I guess I would take the running backs from years past. Tight ends, I'd take this group. Defensive line, I would take, a lot of the same players, right? I guess I would take years past simply because, so I would say worse, simply because you lost James Pierce, you lost Omar Norman-Lott. But again, I'm splitting hairs here. The linebackers, I'll take this year's group of linebackers easily, hands down, so better. The corners, I guess it's worse right now because you don't have Ricky Gibson or Javon McCoy, and that was the 2 starting quarterbacks in this game last year. So since they're not playing, I'll say worse, even though I like Colton Hood and Ty Redmond a lot. The safeties, I'll say worse because Will Brooks turned out to be a really good player. Jalen McCullough was here for a long time. Look what he's doing in the National Football League. Is this the best roster over the last 4 years? Good question. I think in healthy, probably. But I still have questions. I still have questions about the offensive line. I have serious concerns about corner depth. But again, I'm splitting hairs here. You guys know, if you guys listen to the show, you guys know I love this roster. I've been singing the praises of the roster all offseason. Jared, that was a thinker, man. That was a thinker. Josh, I'm going to be at the game this weekend. Is there any way you're available to meet people? Been listening to you since the beginning of last season and would be cool to link. Yeah, appreciate it, Josh. Thanks so much, man. DM me and let me know where your tailgate is or something. And depending on what's going on at home, I try to get over there a little bit early. Maybe I can swing by a tailgate, maybe crush a beer or two. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But Josh, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. Roba22, what do you think? What do you think the issue is with Ethan Davis? He's had some bad blocking busts both weeks. Has not been involved in the passing game at all. I expected huge things from him this year. Ethan Davis, they've tried to get the football to him. It's just not worked. He has more penalties so far than receptions this year. It's tough, man, because I think he's an able and willing blocker, and I think he goes hard. The pancake that ended up being a holding call, it's close, but he had his hand around the backside, so I get it. The cut block in game 1, that wasn't good. I like Ethan Davis. Off to a tough start of the season. He still made some really good blocks in the Syracuse game. Off to a tough start this season. I think there's better football ahead of him. Said also, what's the deal with Amari Jefferson? He hasn't even seen the field yet. I think he had like 2 snaps or 3 snaps against ETSU. He's just buried in the depth chart, man. There's not really much to say. All right, I'm going to have to speed through here. I don't have much else left to do, or I don't have much time, excuse me. Let's go to Andy. Now that it's official that Gibson and McCoy are out against Georgia, what is your level of concern at corner going into the game? Hood and Redmond have looked good, but for the latter especially, starting his first SEC game against Georgia is certainly less than ideal. Yeah, I've got concerns. Love those 2 guys. I do. I know McMurray will be the 3rd corner. He'll play star as well. But, I've got concerns because of depth. I've got concerns because Redmond, this will be his first SEC game. They're ballers, though. Again, theme of the show. I'm excited to see it. Gabe, you ask if Sanders Jr.'s first game should be Georgia. My thinking is no. That's a tough D-line to go up against in your first collegiate start. Also, our O-line not letting up a sack yet. I know the defenses we played aren't great, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, at least for this week. Gabe, it's interesting, man. We've kind of been talking about that. If David Sanders Jr. is available, I think he should play. I don't think he should start. That's kind of where I'm at, unless, and I don't know the answer to this right now, he was full go, clear to go, full contact from the beginning of this week on, and he got all those practices. That's the only if it's a Thursday or Friday situation, yeah, you're cleared, go. I'm not starting him, but I am playing him, knowing full well he's one of the best 5, and he will be in your starting lineup before it's all said and done. Skylar, do the Vols play Rodarius Jackson more so we don't get into a Mike Matthews transfer portal issue that we had with him last year? I don't know, man. Right now it's too early to think about that. Just go out there and win. Kurt, are you surprised at all how good the passing game has looked, that the tight ends are not a big part of that? Only 9 catches through 2 games. Not really, because the tight ends do so much more in this offense. Plus, they're big time in the red zone. Miles Kitzman caught a touchdown. They went to Ethan Davis in the red zone as well against Syracuse. It didn't work out. Tight ends in the red zone. That's where they're going to come in for. All right. And Drew, I think I've already answered your questions already. So I'm running behind schedule, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate you for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch. We'll get to Josh Ward for a little Ward Wednesday. That is coming up next. We continue on right here at your Wednesday Locked On Vols. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with can't-miss offer right now. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live action as the game unfolds. I watch the Braves every single night. Like, why, right? Why do that to myself? It's a bad year. But since I'm watching them, might as well jump in, that live game line, the 8th, 9th inning or whatever, 7th, 8th inning, something like that. Jump in, put some coin in your pocket, have fun doing it. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Plus, it's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sunday's NFL season. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Big shout out, as always, to our friends over at FanDuel. And most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. Amen? Yes. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorizations of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you've been saving as much as you weren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice those inefficient investment allocation, discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. I know I need some work in that regard. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That is 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with that promo code. That is LOCKEDONCollege. Josh Ward joining us for Ward Wednesday, as he does every single week. Big week coming up this week, Josh. Tennessee and Georgia. What's the feeling here early in the week, in terms of the radio show, the callers, the texters? What's the vibe you're kind of getting in terms of Tennessee, Georgia coming up this weekend?
Well, probably a mix of different types of energy, but a lot of confidence. The most confidence I can really think of leading into this game in most of this 10-year stretch with Kirby Smart as the head coach. He arrived in 2016, so it's not quite 10 years. But we know about the 8-game losing streak and what's happened during that time. There was a lot of excitement in the 22 game going in when Tennessee was ranked number 1 in the college football playoff. And at that point, Tennessee had beaten Alabama. And fans really thought Tennessee could go win that game, but also found out quickly that wasn't going to happen. This one's at home. This is a Georgia team that is not quite as frightening, at least doesn't feel that way to a lot of Tennessee fans, and I think that's created optimism. There was also the nervous energy, though, Eric, of, well, we've seen what Kirby Smart's teams have done in the past, and we've seen that line move, which could create some extra motivation that Kirby Smart can try to use because he is a master motivator in getting his team prepared. But overall, I sense a lot of confidence from Tennessee fans about what Tennessee's football team can do.
Yeah, I mean, just like Nick Saban, right? I mean, Kirby Smart, there's not a better motivator. There's not a better coach out there that can make it seem like to your team that everybody thinks you suck when in reality you were picked to win the SEC and you're top 5 in the country. It's incredible year over year. How much like for me, like I get the whole and there should be reasons for optimism. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of that optimism stemming from, oh, well, they didn't look that good against Austin Peay. Oh, they only beat Marshall by this amount. I put no stock in those games. Okay, especially Austin Peay. The kickoff time was moved up. They were delayed midway through. I put no stock in those games. That defense, about as vanilla as it comes from people I've been talking to, and they're going to dial it up defensively against Joey Aguilar. And offensively, I do think they're trying to search for a little bit of an identity. But I'm not taking a lot of stock into scoreboard watching early in the year for Georgia.
I don't really either. I would imagine with the Austin Peay game, Georgia wanted to finish that as quickly as possible after having to wait through that delay. I look at the personnel as much as I look at the way that they've played, and I see a lot of talent. Defensively, I expect that Georgia is going to do everything it can to try to pressure Joey Aguilar and force him into making mistakes, as so far he's had time to throw. It was pitch and catch against ETSU. But also they know that Tennessee's going to try to run the football. They can line up physically and feel confident that they have the ability to slow down Tennessee's offense. And offensively, I don't know what to make of Gunnar Stockton. I do believe in his pass catchers. Last year, Carson Beck did not get a lot of help. Beck probably could have helped himself at times, but Stockton's going to have some help. I wonder, can he make some throws? Can Tennessee get after him? That's going to be a big deal here. But the first two games, Marshall and Austin Peay, they really tell me nothing about Georgia.
I will say this. I mean, in the game against Austin Peay, you have, what is Georgia known for offensively? Tight ends. You have Lawson Lucky. You've got Oscar Delp. Neither one of those guys received a target in the Austin Peay game, which is very puzzling to me. Stetson Bennett, I've done that 3 times already this week. Gunnar Stockton, Stetson Bennett was 2 quarterbacks ago. Gunnar Stockton has not really pushed the ball down the field. It hasn't really attempted to. There's been no need to against Marshall and Austin Peay. So I don't know. They couldn't run the football worth a dang last year. I thought that was kind of an anomaly. I think they're always a pretty good running football team. I think they've done a good job the first 2 weeks. Dealing with some injuries on the right side of the offensive line, I'll be intrigued to kind of see as we track that throughout the week. I don't know. I think the opportunity is for Tennessee defensively to create some havoc, but also if I'm Georgia, I wrote the first glance last night, man. Jalen Carter's not there, Keely Ringo's not there, Jordan Burke's not there, whoever, Nakobe Dean, all those guys. But they still have that guy, C.J. Allen, who's been there forever. K.J. Bolden, an All-American last year. They've got tons and tons of talent, and I feel like Tennessee's offensive line is really going to have to be up ready for it because I think that they're going to bring pressure from the interior. And from A-gap to A-gap, that's kind of where Georgia has really given Tennessee issues in this series with Josh Heupel.
Yeah, in this kind of game, I wonder how many points will Tennessee need to score? How many can they in this kind of game? During this losing streak, Tennessee's hit 20-plus points once. In 2020, the worst Tennessee football team in this streak was the one that scored 21 points, and they got blown out still in the game. It's just been so difficult for Tennessee to score against Georgia with Kirby Smart as the head coach. Is it going to be different this time? I don't know. Tennessee should feel good about the way the offensive line has performed so far. But similar to what we said about Georgia, Tennessee's not faced anything close to what it's about to face this Saturday. Maybe the O-line is ready for it, but I don't know that. The wide receivers have shown signs of growth, and Chris Brazzell and Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley making plays, and they have, I think, big potential in the SEC, but in the first 2 games, they haven't faced a level of talent or physicality that they're about to see from Georgia's defense. So I wonder, Tennessee, I think, will have opportunities to win one-on-one matchups on the outside. Is that going to happen? Can they do that to put up enough points on the board? Can Tennessee run consistently? Last year, Tennessee ran better than Georgia did, but it didn't matter in the end because Georgia threw it all over the place. And while I don't think Gunnar Stockton is Carson Beck, I do think Gunnar Stockton's options this year are better. And Georgia knows what it's going to try to do against Tennessee. So it is a matter of, to me, which side is going to be better at doing what it knows it needs to do against the other. But I think Tennessee's matchup opportunities are better this year than we've seen in most years in this matchup.
Yeah, in years past, the cornerbacks have just put on the clamps, Tennessee on the offensive line. These wide receivers are getting beat in press man coverage. Brazzell, Matthews is the most physical wide receiver. I remember, seeing tape of him in high school, played safety, of course, but a willing blocker, loved to get physical. Mike Matthews, again, a Georgia boy, this is your game. Okay, this is your game, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there because Georgia will try to be physical out on the perimeter. And your colleague Jason Swain can speak on this much better than me. They're going to be trying to be so physical on the perimeter, and I think that's where they've really had an advantage at points in times during this streak. Another point, Josh, man, middle of the field was open for business last year. Really in this series under Josh Heupel, defensively, middle of the field has been just horrendous. Last year, you went to the college football playoff because of your defense. You trusted your front four up there, and you let your back end play some zone. You didn't have to man up every single time. That worked. It did not work against Georgia. Okay, Tim Banks has got to mix and match the pressures. We saw some of that in the Syracuse game with a couple of linebacker blitz on third downs, with Boo Carter blitzing off the edge on fourth down. In my opinion, Tim Banks has got to keep Gunnar Stockton guessing. You can't rely on that front four because you got eaten alive last year doing just that.
Yeah, and at some point, somebody in the secondary probably has to go make a play, or maybe somebody's able to get to Gunnar Stockton and get the ball out and make a play that way. But I don't think it's just limiting Stockton. I think Tennessee needs to figure out ways to make plays on defense, because you asked at the beginning of the conversation about the vibe, the thoughts around Tennessee fans that we're seeing. To start the week, immediately fans were talking about some pretty big point totals of what Tennessee can do in this game, and maybe that happens. But I don't know if the offense straight up can get to 30-plus points. If the offense can do that, then Tennessee has a great chance to win this game. But that's a big ask, knowing what we're talking about with Georgia's defense and how difficult that's been previously. So at some point, defense for Tennessee will have to step up and do something either to help the offense make it easier to get points on the board or put points on the board themselves.
At the time of this recording, and I know things can change by the time this airs, so that's why I always say at the time of this recording, that line has shrunk down according to our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. I mean, it started at like 6.5, I want to say. Maybe you saw it differently somewhere else.
7+, yeah.
It's 3.5 right now at the time of this recording in favor of Georgia, which, you could chalk it up to a pick 'em there. Give 3 to the home. Well, that makes no sense because Tennessee's the home team. But nonetheless, that line continues to shrink, man. What's that tell you about Vegas and Vegas's thoughts of this matchup?
Well, I was surprised with the initial line during the weekend where it was in the 7 to 7.5 range, because at the start of the season, before kickoff, from On3, Brett McMurphy was sharing lines. I don't know if it was from Circa or I don't know where it was from, but it was in the 4.5 to 5 range. And that told me, hey, the odds makers are going to give Tennessee a shot. And Tennessee, the way it played in the first two games, compared to Georgia, which hadn't done anything to wow anybody in the first two games against lesser opponents, that said to me that it should be that or a little bit lower. And so I was surprised to see any 7.5 talk. It moving that quickly, though, I didn't anticipate that. So when it went from 7.5 to 4.5, and then quickly from 4.5 to 3.5, I thought, okay, well, a lot of people think that Tennessee's got some kind of shot here, and I'm guessing some smart people think that that's the case. Can Tennessee do it? Can Tennessee turn 3.5 or 4.5, which is still Tennessee as an underdog, into Tennessee winning straight up? Let's see. But that's part of the reason I say that Tennessee has as good of a shot, it looks like, in this game as we have seen since Tennessee last beat Georgia in 2016.
Tennessee and Georgia coming up this weekend. A huge matchup at Neyland Stadium. The loser, season's certainly not over. The winner, boy, are you in a driver's seat with a signature win in your back pocket for the CFP. Out the door, 72-17. Anything you want to comment on the ETSU game?
Not really, other than Tennessee did what it was supposed to. Credit to Tennessee for doing that. But last year when Tennessee put up 71 on Kent State, I said, well, that's just an awful football team by comparison. And ETSU, credit for what it is, but compared to Tennessee, had no match. So Tennessee did what it was supposed to, but now we actually get to see more of what Tennessee's about against Georgia.
Hey, appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. Good stuff there from Josh Ward. Great stuff from Aaron Murray, the Knoxville Quarterback Club that we spoke on earlier in the show. Appreciate you guys, you everydayers, for sending in your questions for segments 2 mailbag. Big week, man. We're going to continue on looking at this. On tomorrow's show, we're going to have a national recruiting analyst join the show to kind of preview Tennessee's recruiting weekend. We'll have a Throwback Thursday as well with Noah Taylor, so looking forward to that. Boogie Bentley's coming up on the Friday show. Who is Georgia? What are the keys for Tennessee? All that and more. Thursday and Friday, Locked On Vols. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends, tell your family members. This is the Tennessee podcast for them. This is Locked On Vols.